All right, now, as we know, last week, bit of a slow week. Didn't really get much done. Got a few things done, but, stalled compared to the week one. But I'm filming this on Tuesday, so it's very early in the week, which means a lot of potential to get things done. We're going to jump straight into the list and go from there. Now, you can see that it's very much the same as last week because it didn't tick off much. So I'm not going to explain a lot of it. It's basically stock take, eBay, social media. But there is one thing I've added, and that is a Melbourne trip. I am going to Melbourne this weekend, and I'm going to make sure that I use some of that time to benefit the business. So I plan to visit some card shops and put into practice what I sort of mentioned in my previous video last week about going to the shops and finding those cards that are potentially worth holding and seeing if we can just find any deals as well. So I'm going to add that to my list, and I'm going to hopefully bring you along for the journey and show you what we find along the way. And that will probably form out a lot of this week's video. What I am going to do though is I'm going to go straight into listing on eBay now. I've got the camera out. There's no excuse. I've got some time. So let's just get straight into listing cards on eBay. So I'm just here, I'm looking at the prices of the cards that I've got and sort of determining anything that's in the price range that I am going to list. So that price range I might have mentioned before is sort of that $6 to $20 range is what I'll list on eBay. Anything lower than that is not really worth it, and anything higher is too many fees. All right, so I found some cards I'm going to list. I've got 20. I've set myself a goal, and if it's just something that you struggle with listing your cards and finding the motivation, I guess, set yourself a goal. Every time you list, minimum of 10. I'm doing a minimum of 20 because I need to move some things, but that's just a little tip, is just set yourself a little goal, be it monetary or item-wise, and just list them. I also need to be less attached to singles. I know that a lot of these didn't sell at my last card show, so I should be moving them on, but part of me is like wanting to hold on to them for the next card show, but it is the wrong sort of attitude because I've got plenty here extra as well to hold on to. So I've chosen the ones. I'm going to quickly show you what we're going to list. Ignore the prices on there because they are from the card show. And you'll notice a lot of these are the lower end cards. That's just another flygon. I'm choosing deliberately the lower end because the fees or the percentage is a lot lower, obviously. The higher end ones, as much as I could probably move them, on a $50 card, you're probably paying postage. And you've got to track. So the higher the card, you've got to do the track postage. So you're probably paying $6 on postage. You're paying $5 to $6 on fees. So on a $50 card, you're probably giving eBay 10 of that. Versus on a $10 card, I can send it via a stamp and it's only $1 fee. So I'm probably losing $2.50 out of it. So that's just sort of my sort of strategy as I make my way into listing or getting into the higher end stuff. This will probably be the last batch of the lower end stuff that I'll probably grab and then start to work into higher end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to listing. I do use my phone for listing. It's a lot easier than the laptop because I can just take the photo and just get straight into it. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and we'll catch you at the next part. All right, and we are taking a look at the binder. So this is the just the binder that I have sitting on the table with the small sort of cards. As you can see, predominantly a lot of EXs. All the blank spaces are essentially cards that have been pulled out and were sold at my last show. So, if you're pulling a lot of cards or taking in a lot of bulk stuff, you're going to get these EXs. And most of the time, as we know, they're not worth anything. They're not worth listing on eBay. Look, there's a couple of full arts there, a couple of these. But a lot of these aren't worth listing on eBay because the returns are so small. So I just put them in this binder, $1 a card, and look, it was pretty well picked through, and I probably made $30, $40 out of this binder. A lot of full arts there, so those ones there are to put $2 on those ones there, or 3 for 5 sort of thing. So it's worth just filling the binder up with that. We've got the ace specs there, good for the players. I don't think they're, or master setters as well. I think the players probably use them as well. couple of VMAXs, nothing special, another full art there. But yeah, I recommend just having a binder there that people can flick through, especially while they're waiting to maybe do deals with you as well at the table. And we're sort of getting into some of these full arts here as well. But yeah, they're good to have just for people to flick through while they're waiting to maybe talk to you and buy some bigger cards. So this is the binder inventory that I have. I don't have a price on it or a valuation for it because it's just a lot of small stuff, mainly $1 a card. You can see there's a couple of price tags. So yeah, that's the binder that I have sitting at my booth, and I recommend that you do the same. Okay, I said we'd do some inventory management, and here we are. Now, this is a spreadsheet that I just did up with the singles that I have. I need to probably do some for the slabs and for the sealed as well, but I thought we'd start with the singles because this is the main sort of bulk of my Pokemon card business, if you will. Now, as you would have seen just before, I went through the binder and sort of the inventory in the binder there. I don't attribute a real great deal of value to it, maybe $200 worth. But it is part of the inventory, so it's good to have and to show you that. But this is the real bulk of it. This is the higher end stuff that I'm essentially saving for the next card show. And there, I mean, it's pretty clear. You can see right there that the value here, we'll just add that in. The value there is, yeah, let's say 2,000 Australian dollars is the value of the inventory. So not bad, happy with that. But the things I wanted to really highlight, and you can see there's some of those cards that are highlighted there, and the things I really wanted to talk about is I was actually quite surprised at some of the value of some of these cards. Some of these I've been holding for a little while, and it's sort of just really expected the values to go down. And there's sort of three things that I wanted to really touch on here. I guess the first one is that you can see there the Jasmine, the Mina, and the Marnie all worth quite a bit. Now, obviously, there's the waifu tax on female trainer cards. We know that in the Western world, that there's sort of influence from the Japanese side of things. We know there's a bit of a waifu tax on these female trainer cards, but I did not expect that. You can see there I've got paid NA because I don't remember, but I know that I picked up, you know, this group here, all of this group of trainers here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 trainers. I know I picked all of those up, all those female trainers up for under $150, I reckon I paid. And as you can see there already, like, yeah, I've definitely made my money back on those there. So, yeah, really, really happy with that one. The next lot here, and this leads into and the next thing I'll talk about as well, lead into the video that I made last week, and last week's video talking about how I source inventory and product. You can see there's some GXs, and you can see that there's some that are worth quite a few, you know, a couple $100. What do we got there? 100, so call that 300. Call that $450. Now, I definitely didn't pay that much for them. I think I paid around about, I'd say $200 to $250 for those. And what I talked about in my last video is about having a bit of foresight as to what might go up in value. Now, there's two parts to this. I bought this lot of cards because at my first show, my previous card show, I had a lot of people asking me for sort of vintage or mid-era cards, and I didn't have any. A lot of what I have is modern, as you can see there. So I thought, all right, I'm going to stock up on a few sort of, I know GXs are not vintage, they're more mid-era, but I'm going to stock up on some cool mid-era cards. And the tag teams are fantastic cards, as we know. They look amazing, and they have quite a bit of value attributed to them. So I picked these up with a bit of foresight, knowing that, okay, mainly, honestly, just to have the stock. But as you can see, they've gone up in value over the last couple of months. I've bought all this stuff at the start of the year, so only a couple of months. Obviously, the Pokemon card sort of situation is going through another bit of a boom now that we're out of Christmas and New Year period. But yeah, having that foresight as to, okay, what can I grab now for a good price that is going to go up in the future or potentially go up in the future? And this is a call I made on those cards, and it's going to pay off by the looks of it. The last ones I wanted to quickly touch on, which again goes to foresight for me, was some of these 151 cards. So you can see Giovanni there at 35. And not necessarily 151 sets in particular, but the original 151 Pokemon. Anything in that sort of, that first Gen 1 Pokemon, I just feel is always going to be a good buy. And you can see there the Gloom, the Pinsir. What else have we got here on the list? Misty's Lapras, the Ivysaur, the Pidgeot, the Drowsy, all of those cards I paid less than what they are now. They've gone up in value. Not only did I pay less, but they've gone up in value. And that, I just feel, is that anything from the 151 set or any of the original 151 Pokemon are always going to have a bit of value to them. So that's something to really, really pay attention to when you're sort of picking cards for your own inventory. But this particular section and topic for today is about inventory management. And so I just wanted to show you that this is the spreadsheet that I'm using to manage the singles. Any that I purchase in will whack into here. Now, this also doesn't include the singles that are listed on eBay. They are separate, and there is about 40 of those. So I've got a few cards, you know, there's 40 here, 40 listed. So I've got around 80. There's some that are in the binder. So, I've got about 100 cards that are really on the sale sort of sheet. So not too bad. Happy with that. And I hope this gives you a bit of insight. Please, I'd love to know, if you're doing this, what are you doing to manage inventory? Because I'm by no means a master or an expert. This is what I'm doing, but maybe we can learn from each other. So what I'll do is I will also dive into adding the sealed and some slabs and talk about how we store those. But for now, adios. All right, it's the end of week 3. How did we go this week? Well, as you saw, we did okay. Let's quickly wrap this up and then we'll have a bit of a chat. All right, let's have a look at the list. Stock take. Yes, I managed to get through and stock take the singles. I'm going to call that a win. I still need to do a few more. But stock take, yes, got some done. List on eBay, as you saw, went through. List on eBay, great. And had a few sales on some of those items. So fantastic. Social media. Finally made some progress on that. Have just got to edit some of them, but I've actually sort of filmed and made my little social media. Now, when I say social media, it's my little reels that I'm going to use. I've got this idea that I'll pretty much be ready to show in next week's video, but I can say that, yes, I have filmed and done that, which is great. So I've just got to edit it, and then I'll include one in next week's video, or you might even see one through the week if you're looking at the channel, which is great. So another tick there, winning. The last one, though, the Melbourne trip, bit of a loss. Unfortunately, didn't get to go to any of the card shops in Melbourne that I had planned. Managed to make a quick stop in Geelong, but nothing to film there. Essentially, the price of fuel is just crazy. As you know, I'm sure that you're being impacted in some way by what's going on in the world. And just from where I was to get to some of these card shops that are worth sort of going to, it was just too far. It was going to add so much to my trip, my return trip, and that in turn would have added so much to the cost of petrol. So I gave it a miss. So I apologize. When I do happen to go there next, I will get some footage. So look, in terms of those, the 4 goals, ticking 3 out of 4, I'm pretty happy with that. As usual, packing and sending has been done because there was some orders this week. Buying any product, this week was a bit quiet on the buying. As we know, it was the release of some more product, Ascended Heroes First Partners. So a lot of my, I guess my personal money has went into that for my personal collection. So not any buying done this week in that space. And future planning. I thought a bit about that a bit more, and that'll be one of the topics for next week's video. So all up, a pretty good week. And let's get into the full wrap up. I almost forgot to add the sales recap for the week. Important. I know everyone wants to see figures. Everyone loves to see the numbers. And we had a really good week with sales this week because I got to listing. It's funny that you list things on eBay, it equates to getting sales. So this week's sales figures, I'll put the number up there, $297.50. Australian, of course, but not bad. Really happy with that. So far leading into quite a good month, and we'll do a month sales figures at the end of the month, but not bad. I actually found a couple of cards that were actually worth quite a bit. I normally don't list those more expensive ones on eBay, but I thought, I think it was one that I packed myself, so sort of no actual investment, so why not chuck it up? And that sold for $80, and then there was quite a number of sales from those other cards. So really happy with that, and that's the sales figures for the week. Now, to wrap up this week's video and this week's topic is around inventory management. So I talked a little bit about it in the sort of the spreadsheet I was talking about when I was doing the stock take. We're going to have a bit of a chat around inventory management, and also an open discussion around how are you doing it if you're sort of in this space as well. How are you managing your inventory? So as you can see, I've done the stock take. I still need to do a few things around some of the seal product that I've bought, like we saw last week, and some of the stuff that I've put aside, and some slabs, which I'll be slowly picking up. What's your inventory management strategy? Obviously, there's things like the Collector app. Now, I'm not going to put any screenshots up. I'm not sponsored by Collector or anything like that, but I do use it for my own personal collection. And I think it's going to be a really good way to manage the inventory and be able to see a value of the inventory at the click of a button. And I think that's important to be able to know the value of your inventory at any given moment, especially if your targets are around financials. So you might want to at all times have $2,000 worth of singles and $1,000 worth of sealed. Well, in Collector, you can sort of manage those portfolios. So I think what I'll be doing is using Collector to input my singles, my slabs, my sealed, and have those areas and have that inventory set in different portfolios, as they call them, so that I can easily see. And then I guess it helps you track as well. And I think you can put in what you paid for it. That might be a pro feature, something I need to look into. But if there's a way you can put in what you paid for it, it's great information, because then you can know, oh, I paid this much for it and it's going up, great, or I paid this much for it and it seems to be trending down, it might be time to move it quick. So I think Collector is going to be the way that I manage my inventory moving forward. And I'll play around with that a bit more in the coming week, so that I can have maybe, a bit more of an input to show you and sort of talk about. But I think for inventory management purposes, that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, it's really important part of business is to be able to know what you've got at all times, especially when you're buying. If you don't know what you've got, how do you know what to buy? When it comes up. If you don't know what you got, you don't know what you can sell, because you might be looking through these Facebook groups that I advised, and you might see people wanting to buy stuff, and that might be a way that you sort of go about selling some of your selling platforms. Because I've talked about buying strategies, but I haven't necessarily talked about selling strategies, and that might be something that I do in the future. But you might see that and go, oh, cool. Well, how do I know if I've got that? Well, you might be able to quickly just go through Collector and go, oh, I've got that. I paid this much for it, and I can sell it for that much. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on inventory management. That's sort of that side of it, the admin side of the inventory management. The physical management of my inventory is also pretty lax. So I just have my cards sort of just sitting there. I don't have a great deal, but as my collection grows, I'm going to be looking at moving it off site, because it's just safer that way. So yeah, I'd love to hear your inventory management strategies. That's the start of my inventory management. By no means you could do a full video on it, and this is not by any means like a complete video, but the start of my inventory management is that spreadsheet and going to be the Collector app. Let's see how that develops, and we'll go from there. Now, I just want to say once again, thank you so much if you've watched this video. I hope you've got something out of it. I hope you've enjoyed just watching me go through this Pokemon card business. If I'd love to hear your feedback. I've had a few comments in the first video, so I'd love to hear your feedback. If you've got any questions, please send them through. Please like, subscribe. It means a lot. It helps a lot. So, there's a link down there. Please do that. And look forward to the next one. Look forward to hearing from you, and we'll catch you then. Cheers. Bye.